We've seen your history.
The principles we fight for are engraved in our national motto: equality of all people.
Equality of all people. We have to basically, strip you from that right of putting the hijab. Are Muslims nationals in France? Do they have citizenship? Stop blabbing. The mask is off, buddy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, tonight in the IAT show, we're going to discuss the French elections and the loss of the Islamophobe Marine Le Pen with her right-wing party, which is disappointed loss of Islamophobes. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Perfect, amazing. Inshallah, today we will discuss three things quickly about this election. Number one, we're going to listen to some Islamophobic rhetoric by Marine Le Pen. We're going to discuss why are these populist right-wing movements, springing everywhere like mushrooms in the West. And number three, we're going to discuss the way forward, the future of Muslims in the West, inshallah ta'ala. So let's start with the first point. The first point, inshallah, is discussing, understanding really the secular underpinnings of the arguments that Islamophobes like Marine Le Pen present to limit the freedoms of Muslims in the West, just like the veil issue in France, which we're going to see right now, a quick video, which is a couple years old by Marine Le Pen. Okay, let's start. Bismillah.
Je suis contre l'interdiction, je suis pour l'interdiction du voile dans l'espace public. Je l'ai dit de la manière la plus claire. Je pense que le voile est un uniforme imposé par les islamistes. Il faut libérer l'ensemble de ces femmes. Il faut faire reculer les islamistes.
So she wants to liberate Muslim women by taking their right to wear the veil. And the hijab. It's enforced by Islamists. Did you actually go out there and create a survey by Muslim women, and Muslim women told you, yeah, we've been forced by Islamists in France? You're just a liar. This is a propaganda. It's despicable, disgusting, especially when you speak about freedom, liberty, and the rule of law. Let's see the same person, Marine Le Pen, speaking about these things. I just want you to hear it from her mouth. You see this, the hypocrisy of these Islamophobes, the weak ideology of secularism, the weak value system that the Western world basically have got into.
Globalization feeds on the denial of the fundamental pillars on which the French nation was founded, and which most French people still regard as essential: the preeminence of the human being and his sanctified status.
So the sanctity of the human being.
Individual liberty and therefore individual consent.
Individual consent, the right to have consent, not to be forced to take off the hijab.
National consciousness and therefore national solidarity.
National solidarity? Are Muslims nationals in France? Do they have citizenship? Last time I checked, we had 10% Muslims in France, 10% nationals. They're not part of the national unity. They're not part of the fraternity that she claims to speak about.
Equality of all people.
Equality of all people, really, but you don't have the right to choose what to wear. But we're equal. We have to basically, strip you from that right of putting the hijab, because it's equality. We all need to be the same.
And therefore the refusal of submission.
The refusal of submission. You can't go and coerce somebody, but she just wants to coerce somebody. She wants to coerce Muslim women because they don't deserve. They're not French enough. They're not French national. They don't have equality. They're not free of submission. They're not free of subjugation.
The principles we fight for are engraved in our national motto: liberté, égalité, and fraternité.
Liberté, égalité, fraternité. The principles of the French Revolution, the principles of secularism, as you just said it. All of them are bogus. And this is what the Muslims in the West today, as a Muslim in the West myself, and all my brothers and sisters in the West, there's millions of Muslims in the West, we can see the hypocrisy of this claim of liberty because we don't have liberty. The hypocrisy of equality because we are in no way equal in any way or shape to the real French nationals or the real Western nationals. We're not good enough. We don't have the same color. We don't have the same traditions. We don't have the same values. Therefore, we don't have the right for equality and definitely fraternity. We're not part of the nation. We're not seen as an equivalent national and citizen in the country. This is the hypocrisy of secularism. This is the hypocrisy of the Western rhetoric. This is the hypocrisy of the secular system. Now, to be honest, basically, let's delve into a little bit more secularism. The West became secular. Why? Because of the church. It's a separation of church and state. The West does not like the church. Okay, well, that's fine. It's your choice. But why do you have to hate Islam? This secular underpinning is actually not sustainable, which is why we're seeing, which is point number 2 in today's video, why we're seeing these populist, right-wing, racist movements in the West, especially in France. Why? Because liberalism is unsustainable. The whole idea of being secular is to allow religious freedom, the religious practice. This is enshrined in their ideals in the first article in the French law that separates church from state, the law of 1905. It's in the American Constitution. But it's unsustainable. Why? Because that's what man-made laws are. Man-made laws are contradictory. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran challenges people to find a single one contradiction in the Quran. You can't find it. Open up any constitution, any human philosophy, any human-made ideology. Contradictions are everywhere. And just like basically Marine Le Pen and all the other Islamophobes, they espouse freedom and liberty and equality and natural rights, and everything basically goes down the drain when it comes to Muslims and immigrants. That's why these movements have been springing up, because they see their populations shrinking. Bro, if your population is shrinking, why are you attacking other populations? We've seen your history. You've killed and slaughtered and enslaved people in Africa and the whole southern earth due to your crazy ideology. You want to be liberal. You want to do what your desires and your whims tell you to do. You want to have equality. Women want to have their careers and they want to continue in the workplace until their 30s and 40s. And both, basically, men and women do not want to have more than one child to take care of, because it's too much work and too much responsibility, which conflicts with people's individualistic desires. You're making a choice as a civilization to not have babies. Fine, it's your choice. Don't come and cry. You're accusing other people of having, bigger populations. Dude, you don't want immigration? Just stop immigration. But don't go and basically blab about human rights and the right of asylum seekers to have a protection in your country. You're the people of the high standard, and you're the people of humanitarian feelings. It's all gibberish. Your history is filled with genocide. 300 years of genocide. Stop blabbing. You can't. The mask is off, buddies. Come on. For me, I'm happy because you guys are exposing your own system. You're exposing your own culture. You're exposing your own civilization, which maybe takes us to our third point of the video. What do Muslims do? This is the reality. The West is unfortunately falling into this big, stinky hole of racism and discrimination and intolerance. So what do Muslims do? Let's quickly take a look at this video. It's been happening in France. So France, 10% of France is Muslim, 10%. It's 68 million or 67 million, sorry, whatever the number is, and 6.7 million Muslims. That's around 2024. What's happening to the Muslims now due to this right-wing populist culture?
The Islamophobic atmosphere is causing a brain drain, with educated French Muslims leaving France for countries like the UK and Canada.
Yeah, so Muslims starting to leave your country. All the Zidans of old industries and sectors of the economy are leaving your country. Who gave you the World Cup? It wasn't a French national. It wasn't a French, white, blue-eyed, blonde, real French, Christian, Catholic. It was an African Berber. Not French enough for you. Look at your soccer team. It's a disgrace. You treat people basically like scum. People of color are not French enough for you. They have to have the same values. Where's the freedoms? Where's liberté? You just throw it in the garbage. So just admit that your values are not universal. They're not sustainable. They're not worthy of being adopted by anybody. And this is the point, because Islam is universal and Islam deserves to be adopted by everybody. Why? Because it's consistent, it's just, and it's merciful. So for the Muslims in France and the other countries that are very Islamophobic, it's time for us as Muslims in the West to start thinking strategically. Where should we go? I mean, right now, basically, the French Muslim going to England, to Britain, and so forth, and to Canada. What's if Canada and the UK became very Islamophobic like France? Where do we go? We go to America. America becomes Islamophobic. You know, guys, maybe it is time for us, and this is my message tonight, is maybe it's time for us to start thinking to go back home, to make our countries a place of prosperity and economic opportunity, and science and technology, and peace and harmony and security. And that means we need to have our role in stopping the obstacle, or removing the obstacle in the Muslim world for all this, which is oppression, which is al-dhulm, which is corruption, al-fasad. It is our duty. Like, you know, we might not last in the West. I don't know, we might be one day in concentration camps. Look at this craziness. I'll leave you with that big question, and to be honest, it's a huge question that we should reflect upon. And if this question is going to keep you at night, inshallah ta'ala, there's a great program that's going to delve into some of the biggest questions for a Muslim here in the West, like the purpose of life, the identity, definitely cleansing of the heart, and the seerah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the path forward for carrying the deen here in the West. It's called the Muslim Blueprint. It's offered by the Ayati Institute. So go to the website with the link below and register as soon as possible, because the next cohort is going to start in a few weeks from now, August 11th. So hopefully we'll see you in class, inshallah ta'ala. And I wish that you subscribe to this channel and like this video, inshallah, and leave your comments and your questions down below. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair. And may Allah subhanahu bless all of you. And we'll see you next week in another episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.